And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it's been over a year since I looked at Batman Arkham Asylum for the Xbox 360, so there's probably a lot of you wondering, just why the hell did it take me so long to get here in the first place? Well, let's go down the list.
1. I wanted to give this game some time to cook, as the overall adventure was rather meaty and not something I could immediately review. 2. Since I like to discuss plot details, I didn't want to immediately spoil anybody with crucial plot elements and wanted to give some time to age before picking it apart. 3. The second Sonic interview. 4. My job in retail that I no longer work in. 5. The second Sonic interview. 6. Pokemon Black and White 2. 7. Other games I just wanted to play and relax. 8. Getting this Batman mask for the review.
It's nice, isn't it? It weighs a fucking ton, but its craftsmanship is pretty remarkable, and I figured it's close to Halloween, why not wear a mask? But let's not waste any more time. Now, I was excited for the release of Arkham City. I went to the midnight release and everything. In fact, that's how I got that Batman standee right there in the corner of my room. So does Batman Arkham City completely trump Arkham Asylum in just about every single way imaginable? Let's find out. And be forewarned, I'm spoiling this plot rotten. So let's get started.
As I've established earlier, Batman Arkham Asylum was awesome. The gameplay, the story, the overall structure, it was great. Well, no later than a few months after its release, a teaser for the next game was already released, hinting at a bigger world to explore and something seriously wrong with the Joker. Throughout 2010 and 2011, the internet was slowly being peppered with all sorts of teasers and trailers hinting at what the sequel had in store. There was also a prequel comic released that served as a bridge between Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, which is something I recommend picking up, by the way. It's pretty sweet. Seeing as I was clearly a big fan of Batman and enjoyed Arkham Asylum so much, I was hyped. Well, in October of last year, gamers were finally treated to Batman Arkham City, set 1 year after the events of the last game. After Batman successfully stopped Joker from using Titan to destroy Arkham Island, Quincy Sharp, the former warden of the asylum, has become mayor of Gotham City, not only because he took credit for Batman's work, but he also had a bit of help in the form of Hugo Strange. Using his newfounded power, Quincy takes a huge part of Gotham and converts it into a super prison called Arkham City. I don't think I should have to say this, but in reality it's Hugo Strange pulling all the strings here. Quincy Sharp was just a brainwashed asshole that gets what's coming to him by Batman later down the road. All of Gotham's locked up criminals, including a majority of Batman's gallery of rogues, are transferred into Arkham City, where predictably all hell breaks loose, causing a war to erupt between Joker, Penguin, and Two-Face. Bruce Wayne, seeing as he can't do much as Batman alone, decides to use his fame and fortune to start a rally to get Arkham City torn down. He does so by holding a press conference in not only the most dank and depressing setting I've ever seen a press conference held in, but right outside the walls of Arkham City. Moments later, Tiger Guards, who work for Hugo Strange, arrest Wayne on the grounds of being a dumbass and drag his unconscious body inside Arkham City. When Bruce wakes up, he discovers that Hugo Strange is well aware that Bruce and Batman are one and the same, and threatens to spill his secret should he attempt to shut Arkham City down. Before we move on, I'd like to note that Arkham City does a bit of retconning here in the Arkham universe. One of the character bios you can unlock in the first game was Hugo Strange, which shows that Batman was already well aware of the crazed professor, but here it's like they never met. I'm still a bit confused as to why they decided to do that, but hey, whatever, different universe I guess. Hugo Strange informs Bruce that by the end of the night he will unleash Protocol 10 and leaves it at that. As you probably guessed, Bruce escapes and in no time calls for Alfred to deliver the Batsuit via the Batwing. As soon as he's done suiting up, Batman notices that Catwoman is also in Arkham City and is being held captive by Two-Face. After demonstrating why Batman is indeed Batman, he stops Two-Face, rescues Catwoman, and heads off to interrogate Joker to get more information about Protocol 10. Eventually, Batman encounters Harley Quinn and is ambushed by Joker after setting him up, knocking him out in the process. When Batman wakes up, he sees that the Joker looks like utter shit. Apparently, after injecting himself with Titan from the last game, the residual traces of the chemical are slowly poisoning Joker from within and he's on the brink of dying. To make sure Batman helps him find a cure, the Joker infects Batman with some of his own blood, effectively putting a death sentence on the Dark Knight. With no time to spare, unless you're doing one of the game's many side quests, Batman must track down Mr. Freeze, who is developing a cure, but before we can do that, we have to rescue him from the clutches of Penguin, who's holding him captive. If there's one thing this game likes having you do, it's fulfilling a prerequisite in order to get a single task done. For instance, in order to reach Penguin, we need to retrieve something from Mr. Freeze's suit, but before we can do that, we need to rescue some Gotham City police officers, but before we can do— Shark! Get it off! 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 Anyway, like I was saying, before we can rescue the cops, we need to disable 3 signal jamming devices located throughout the city to even reach the rooms during to rescue them. It's nothing that'll drive you insane, but it did become more and more noticeable upon multiple playthroughs. Anyway, Mr. Freeze informs Batman that a special bonding agent is required in order to complete the cure. Luckily, a ninja assassin conveniently leads Batman to Talia al Ghul, daughter of Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul. How is it pronounced? I got the animated series telling me it's Ra's, and I got the Nolan films telling me it's Raz. Soon, Batman confronts the frail old Mr. Al Ghul, who jumps into the Lazarus Pit to restore his youth. After an incredibly trippy boss fight, Batman is able to nab a blood sample of Mr. Al Ghul, with traces of the Lazarus Pit swimming inside. With all the ingredients in hand, Batman and Mr. Freeze finally develop a cure, but before Mr. Freeze hands it over, the two have a fight because Mr. Freeze wants his wife rescued from the clutches of Joker, and Batman just doesn't know when to stop being a total dickwad. Yeah, that's one thing I like to bring up. After Joker poisons Batman near the beginning of the game, there are times where Batman just acts like a total douchebag to both friends who just want to help Batman, and foes that want nothing to do with Arkham City. I mean, I know Batman is pressured by the fact that the tainted blood inside his body is slowly killing him, but as a man who's trained himself to both a physical and mental peak, I expected him to handle some situations a little better. Then again, I don't know what it's like to have a poison slowly kill me from the inside, so maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. Well, after the two kiss and make up, the cure is stolen by Harley Quinn, extending the game's plot by 2 hours. As Batman heads back into the Joker's lair, he's confronted by a completely healthy-looking Joker who decides to take Batman head-on. At this point, I'm terribly suspicious. First off, that is the fastest working cure I've ever seen, and secondly, the Joker, confronting Batman in a fistfight? Even with a poisoned Batman, I highly doubt the Joker would be stupid enough to take on the goddamn Batman! Well, after utterly curve-stomping Joker and his goons, the ceiling collapses on Batman, allowing Joker to escape with Talia, who promises to show Joker the Lazarus Pit. At this point, Hugo Strange, who I swear the writers forgot about halfway through writing the story, initiates Protocol 10, which is nothing more than a plan to eradicate Arkham City's inmates with aerial raids and missiles. Catwoman arrives and rescues Batman from the debris and heads off into the unknown. I haven't brought much attention to it yet, so I might as well bring it up now, but yes, there are times where you're placed in the control of Catwoman. Assuming you bought her online. Yep, she's downloadable content. Now, if you bought the game newly released, then you would get a code to unlock her for free, but if you bought this game used, well, too bad, you have to shell out the extra bucks to play as her. Unless you bought the Game of the Year edition. You'd think a character that was featured so prominently in the trailers and on the back of the game's cover would be something included within the disc, but nope, DLC. Even then, Catwoman is nothing too spectacular. Well, I mean, I love how she handles. She's pretty much a more agile Batman with less gadgets. She's also fun to travel with, and I always get a kick out of silently taking out thugs with her stealth tactics. But in terms of the overall story, she really doesn't do anything. There's this one section near the start of the game where you take her to Poison Ivy's apartment, and after fighting some zombie thugs, she gets captured by Poison Ivy herself. Then, the game fades to black, and suddenly we're back with Batman. After about 4 hours later, we join back with Catwoman, who's still being held captive by Poison Ivy and only manages to get away after convincing Ivy to let her go. At this point, Protocol 10 is just mere minutes away from starting, and she needs to rescue Batman from the collapsed ceiling.
What the hell happened? I mean, does Catwoman's events in the story take place in some sort of anachronic order, or are we supposed to believe that she hung upside down for nearly 4 hours?
I'm going to assume it has something to do with her status as DLC. If the players were required to purchase additional content to complete the story, I'm sure there'd be tons of backlash. Still though, if she wasn't going to do that much to begin with, why bother with DLC? She should have been included in the main game to begin with, and I'll leave it at that. Well, back to the plot. Batman discovers that Hugo Strange is located at the top of the Wonder Tower, the highest point in Arkham City. After a rather epic climb and taking out the last of his Tiger Guards, Batman delightfully kicks the shit out of Strange and puts an end to the Professor's plan. But it turns out Strange was actually just a pawn worker for Mr. Al Ghul, who wanted Arkham City constructed as a means to purge Gotham of all he deems evil, which I'm sure is everybody but himself, his daughter, and his League of Assassins. Before Strange kicks the bucket, he activates Protocol 11, causing the Wonder Tower to explode with Batman barely escaping. Mr. Al Ghul? Not so much. With Strange out of the picture, the Joker pops in and tells Batman that he's taken Talia hostage and plans on killing her if Batman doesn't make it to the movie theater in time. When Batman reaches the theater, Talia takes his time to break free and stab Joker in the back, but immediately after doing so, Talia is shot and killed by Joker, looking even worse than he did earlier. Turns out this Joker wasn't Joker at all, but rather Clayface, a plot twist I really should have seen coming, but I was still rather surprised. The real Joker is barely able to stand up and still hasn't ingested the cure since Talia managed to steal it from Harley sometime off-screen. After tearing Clayface a new asshole, Batman manages to retrieve the cure and immediately drinks some of it to rid himself of the poison. The Joker, on the other hand, pleads with Batman to give him the rest of it, but idiotically stabs Batman in the shoulder out of desperation, I guess, causing him to drop the cure and smash it into pieces. Batman tells Joker that even after everything that's happened in this game, he still would have saved him had he not stabbed him like an utter dumbass. With his last few moments, the Joker laughs himself to death, a scene that, to this day, still sends chills down my spine. I don't think he's really dead though, but I'll talk about that when the next game is revealed. Batman carries Joker's body to the outskirts of Arkham City where Batman makes his leave without saying a single word, and thus ending the game. Unless you purchased Harley's Revenge, the DLC that was released earlier this year that somewhat continues the story. Harley, in mourning for the loss of the Joker, takes a few cops hostage and tries to lure Batman and Robin into a deadly trap. Shortened to the point, it doesn't work, and Harley is stopped, with us gaining nothing new in terms of story, and left wondering just why the hell this DLC was made in the first place. Well, if I can give it one thing, it lets us play as Robin in a story sequence, something I'm surprised they couldn't let us do in the main story. So yeah, that's Arkham City's story. Overall, it was enjoyable, but I have my issues. Well, firstly, like I brought up earlier, I wish Catwoman had a little more meat to her side of the story. For someone that's played up in the trailers as someone we're really going to get a kick out of, her role in the story is completely insignificant, with only a few exceptions. I mean, she's fun to play as, but she could have been so much more. Secondly, with Batman poisoned and obviously in need of some assistance, where the hell was Robin during the course of the game? He shows up one time to deliver the line launcher to Batman, but leaves under Batman's orders to protect Gotham. And while I can see where Batman's getting at, making sure crime is still being dealt with in Gotham City itself and such, I think the mission in Arkham City held way too much priority for just one guy, Batman or not. Lastly, I don't find Hugo Strange as a terribly intimidating bad guy. He has Batman's true identity but never does anything with it. He misses so many opportunities to outright kill him. Hell, he could have easily killed Bruce Wayne in the beginning of the game, but completely skips on the opportunity. For someone who claims to know Batman, he really doesn't know Batman. If you don't kill him when you get the chance, he's gonna wreck your shit up big time. Every time I see this guy's face on the screen, the word dumbass just illuminates on his forehead to me. The narrative as a whole is enjoyable. I really do love the different confrontations between Batman and his gallery of rogues, but issues like the ones I mentioned earlier kind of distract me a bit too much to really love the game's story. But I think I spent enough time on that. Let's just get into the game's mechanics. Since Arkham City's whole gameplay structure is largely the same as Arkham Asylum, we won't have to go over too much, but this game does add a lot of bells and whistles to make combat and stealth mechanics even more enjoyable. For one thing, Batman and company can now counter multiple thugs at once when prompted, and he can use just about all of his gadgets to rack up bigger combos and go for more diverse knockouts. Like the last game, you can earn experience points to upgrade your arsenal of attacks, your health, or your current gadgets. And I'm happy to say that just about everything Batman learned or obtained from the first game is immediately available from the start. Remote control batarangs, explosive gel, the cryptographic sequencer, the Batclaw, just about everything except the line launcher, which you get later anyway. Metroid, take note. Although there's still no access to the Batwing or any other vehicle for that matter, so that still sucks. But instead of just bringing back old gadgets, Batman also gets a few new gadgets to play with. First and foremost, we have the smoke pellet, an outright staple of the Batman mythos. If you ever find yourself surrounded with mooks armed to the teeth, you can make quick escapes by covering yourself in smoke and grapple to conveniently place gargoyles and such. You can also use it as an offensive weapon, blinding thugs with smoke, allowing you to easily take them out from behind. Then, after rescuing a doctor in the steel mill, Batman takes something out of this thing and makes, okay, what? I know Batman's utility belt is the pinnacle of Swiss Army knife technology, but where the hell did he pull that thing out of? Secondly, doesn't he hate anything that looks or behaves anything like a gun? Oh, it shoots out electricity to open doors and such. Oh, it can also be used to incapacitate foes. Actually, that reminds me a lot of that electric gun he used in Batman Forever.
Oh, wait a minute. That means the next Batman game is going to have some sort of homage to Batman and Robin.
Later down the road, you gain access to the Disruptor, which is needed to fight the Penguin, but you can later upgrade it to disable firearms from a distance, which is awesome. You can only do it twice before having a lengthy recharge period, but it's still a very helpful tool to take out enemies. Finally, there's the Freeze Blast, which can paralyze a foe, leaving him easy to knock down or ignore. With all these wonderful toys at his disposal, Batman has never been so versatile as he is here in any other video game with Batman in it. And needless to say, it leads to a much more enjoyable experience than Arkham Asylum. And don't get me wrong, I still love that game, but this is truly a Batman experience. But with upgraded gadgets come upgraded mooks. Throughout the adventure, you're going to come across a wide variety of mooks and such. You have your returning fighting mooks, mooks with stun batons, and mooks with automatic weapons, but now there's mooks with added armor that require additional beating, mooks with riot shields that are really annoying to deal with in crowds, knife-wielding mooks who are annoying to counter, and there's even mooks that can plant proximity mines to prevent you from going nuts with the combos. Some mooks even have devices that can jam up your detective mode, and almost all mooks are smart enough to check gargoyles if they know you're using them as a means to escape.
The word mook was uttered 11 times during that last paragraph. And don't ask me how many times I said the word Pokemon in Month of Pokemon. I can't count that high.
I think it's safe to say that the enemies provide a greater challenge than the last game, which may frighten some of you at first, but to me, it leads to a greater feeling of satisfaction when I clear out a room of enemies. If you recall from the Arkham Asylum review, one of the things that really disappointed me were the boss fights. I'm extremely happy to see that the boss encounters are much more varied and overall fun to play with this time around. Although Penguin goes down easily with one Shoryuken, his buddy Solomon Grundy more than makes up for it. The fight with Mr. Freeze is just pure awesome and without a doubt the highlight of the game, and the fight with Mr. Al Ghul is something that Scarecrow wished he could do in Arkham Asylum. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for all of Batman's gallery of rogues, but we'll get to that in a second. Arkham City completely dwarfs Arkham Asylum in terms of scale, and with a bigger playground brings more things to do. I'm not kidding, there is a hell of a lot more to do in this game. You can help rescue political prisoners, discover hidden goodies, listen to various conversations of mooks, or solve mysteries and such. Everything you need to know is nicely labeled on your map, which you can set markers on to easily reach in the overworld. But besides collecting goodies and such, there's also a few rogues to search out and detain. If you find ringing phones, you can talk to Zsasz, who you can later locate and knock out when you trace enough of his phone calls. And then there's Deadshot, who you can locate after doing enough detective work with his unfortunate victims. While I'm glad the number of Batman's enemies have increased since Arkham Asylum, most of the side quest variety are taken down real easily. If I'm supposed to think of Zsasz's phone tracing as a boss fight, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I love how Bane's side quest ends with him temporarily teaming up with Batman to protect the last of the Titan, but the quest should have ended with a legitimate fight against Bane after he double-crosses you. Instead, Batman just defeats him easily with the power of a security gate. But the mother of all side quests is the return of the Riddler. No longer relegated to just making unwanted phone calls to Batman, the Riddler has set up shop in Arkham City and he's plastered the entire area with more riddles, trophies, and puzzles than you can possibly imagine. If you thought there was a lot of Riddler trophies to collect last time, you haven't seen this game. The Riddler has also taken a few hostages this time around, which you can save when you solve enough riddles. And when you finally manage to collect everything Riddler related, you can finally take him head on in a secret hideout. Thing is, even after a year since I've bought this game, I still haven't done that yet. To be perfectly honest, I think they went just a little overboard with the Riddler side quest this time around. I mean, look at this. Look at all these trinkets, knickknacks, and riddles I have to discover and collect. There are specific thugs you can interrogate to know the exact locations of trophies and riddles, but the side quest overall is just too much of a hassle to me. I guess you win, Riddler. I guess the only way you can beat Batman is by having your side quests unnecessarily long and tedious. Even when you're done with the main game, Arkham City also brings back Challenge Mode, now called Riddler's Revenge. Like the last game, there are two modes, one for combat and one for stealth. Not much else to say about that because it's pretty much exactly how it worked in Arkham Asylum, so if you liked it then, you'll like it now. Visually speaking, I think the game is about as good looking as Arkham Asylum in terms of models and such, but this game definitely packs a better atmosphere. The use of lighting and shadows really make Arkham City look like an absolute hellhole, and evokes a constant stream of fear and paranoia to those who are easily frightened. Not us though, we're Batman, and we have detective mode, which is thankfully not needed as much as the last game, so we can actually look at the game's graphics this time around. I loved Arkham Asylum's atmospheric soundtrack so much because it fits so well with the dank setting of the asylum, but since Arkham City is obviously of a much more epic scale, the music was scaled right along with it. You know what you're in for when you hear the title screen piece, and I'm glad the entire soundtrack is just as grand. Though my inner Batman nerd occasionally plays a piece of Danny Elfman's 1989 Batman score when I'm flying over great distances, or performing a large combo on enemies. And admittedly, like in Arkham Asylum, the 60s Batman theme always pops into my head, especially when I'm punching a shark in the fucking face. I guess the last thing to discuss is the DLC. Well, we already covered Catwoman, but there's also Robin and Nightwing, who you can purchase for Challenge Mode, and some additional Master Challenge Mode as well. Overall, they're good for adding more meat to the gameplay, though seeing Nightwing really makes me wish we could play as him or Robin in the main story even more. But the best DLC, without a doubt, are the alternate Batman costumes. I'm a sucker for things like this, and Arkham City doesn't disappoint. Each costume brings a sense of enjoyment out of me, with my favorites being the animated series getup and his Dark Knight Returns outfit, which also adds about 50 pounds to his face and body. I also like the Batman Beyond suit, but it's weird seeing Bruce Wayne in the outfit and not Terry McGinnis. Catwoman can also sport her animated series look as well as her long Halloween costume. Hell, even Robin and Nightwing get animated counterparts. It's totally banking on nostalgia, but I'm loving every second of it. To wrap things up, if you enjoyed Batman Arkham Asylum but haven't played Arkham City yet, what the hell's the matter with you? Arkham City, as a sequel, does just about everything right. It fine-tunes the already good combat mechanics of Arkham Asylum, adds more diversity to Batman's abilities, there's more to do, more to unlock, it's just a fantastic game. The developers were not kidding when they said they were going to make a true sequel, and well, I think they did a damn fine job. I may have some issues with the story, but damn it, Batman Arkham City is just too much fun to really harp on it. It brings me great pleasure to say that you don't have to be a fan of Batman to enjoy Batman Arkham City. This is a video game that anyone who's into kicking ass, gliding over rooftops, or using cool gadgets can get down with. If I ever manage to get my hands on a Wii U when it's released, I might do a quick look at Arkham City Armored Edition, but I wouldn't expect to see that for a long time. With all that said though, I'm really anxious to see how Rocksteady Studios can handle another superhero in the DC universe. I mean, could they be the ones to finally make a decent Superman game? Hell, why not show the Flash some love, or Green Lantern, how about Wonder Woman or Martian Manhunter? If they can make games with characters that are just as successful as the Arkham series, then we could be in for a seriously awesome Justice League game, and who wouldn't want to see that?
It's all merely a dream at this point, but considering just how well these games were received both financially and critically, I think the future is looking bright for DC in terms of the video game industry. Hell, we even got NetherRealm Studios making that Injustice Gods Among Us game, and I'm looking forward to that title too. In the meantime, though, there's other games to review. Now, if you excuse me, I have to go prepare for the shitstorm. Well, guys, see you for Month of Sonic 3. And may God have mercy on my soul.